Your resume gets you in the door, but it's your communication skills that gets you the job. In order to grow, Dev, you've got to put yourself out there, man. You've got to get on the stage. Public speaking gives people the upper hand in their career and their life.
Stuart, welcome to KEAL. How are you doing?
Doing great, Dev. How are you doing?
Good. And just for our viewing and listening audience, we want you to know that we had a preliminary conversation together. Unfortunately, the first conversation didn't download properly. So this is our next run. So we hope you enjoy this conversation. Fortunately, I now, having had already spoken to Stuart on our other version, I have a pretty good idea of a deeper context and who he is and what he does. So at least that was very helpful as well. So
yeah, no worries, man. Technical difficulties happen. We all know that. So no worries whatsoever.
No, I know. It's the thing of the thing, right? So
that's right. The
Stuart,
beauty of the beast.
Exactly. Before we get into our conversation, Stuart, can you please introduce to our audience watching and listening a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your sort of mission in life and why you're doing what you're doing to help people?
Of course. Yeah. So to begin, my name's Stuart Fedderson. I'm the founder, owner, and speaker for the Fedderson Formula, which is a transformative public speaking firm, is what I like to call it. And I use the word transformative very heavily because part of my strategy and my mission is to not only teach speakers how to transform the audience, but transform themselves along the way. A big part of that was when I was young, I had anxiety, although at that point in time, I didn't understand or realize or fully accept the fact that I had social anxiety. I just had taught myself various coping mechanisms on how to overcome that anxiety. In fact, it was just, I would say 8 years ago that I was finally diagnosed with social anxiety and general anxiety disorder. And so a big part of my mission is teaching people the skills I learned when I was young, the social skills, the public speaking skills, and the confidence skills on how to cope with that social anxiety. So to this day, Dev, I still struggle. I still struggle with social anxiety. And I know there are so many people out there that are struggling with the fear of public speaking, with social anxiety, with general anxiety disorder, and those who are not, that still want to capitalize on public speaking and communication. So I made it my mission to teach people everything I learned from the time I was a boy till now. And it all transitioned and transformed into what I call the Fedderson Formula, which is a very comprehensive and methodical formula on how to gain confidence, charisma, and credibility in your public speaking prowess. So that's my mission.
It's really important. I think you saying that this became your mission because, I might be generalizing a little bit, but I have noticed, and with certain, I would say, younger generations right now, especially, this is a big topic. And I think, and I don't want to misconstrue completely why this may be the cause or not, but I think partially a lot of people's social interactions are a lot more technological based rather than in person, face to face, that kind of thing. So it's interesting because I want to ask you, do you have younger clients that come with you because of, maybe not because of that specifically, or are there other reasons why they don't have the ability or they want to develop the ability to have improved communicative skills or sort of public speaking skills?
Yeah. So first of all, let me preface this explanation. And this is what I tell all my clients is that since COVID, the virtual world has challenged the way that we communicate human to human, right? Because now it's through a camera, it's through Facebook, it's through DMs, it's through all of these things where face-to-face communication is now being challenged and is jeopardized, which is why in my in the title of my business, I say transformative public and virtual speaking skills. Because in my mind, Dev, and this is what I tell my clients, and I'll go into the piece about my younger clients, is public speaking skills are virtual speaking skills, and virtual speaking skills are public speaking skills. My biggest value add with a lot of my clients right now, especially the younger ones, is I say, because everything is going virtual now, I'm going to teach you ways to make a virtual speaking experience feel like a public in-person virtual speaking experience. So it's just with the exception of a few modifications, virtual speaking is the same as public. It's just, you need to know what to do. Like right now, Dev, you're doing a great job of it too. You're looking at the camera, right? And I'm looking at the camera. We are now making eye contact, right? It's the same thing in the virtual world. But part of the challenge with my younger clients is I not only teach them virtual, but then I also transition them over to public. I do have a lot of young clients, and parents reach out to me to say, Stuart, the virtual world is compromising and is destroying my child's communication skills. And so what my job is I prepare them for college interviews. I prepare them for debates that they get into at school. I prepare them for future careers and interview skills in public speaking, because right now, Dev, public speaking is no longer an optional skill in the workplace, man. It is no longer optional. If you want to make it in the workplace, especially our youth, need to understand that they need to grasp virtual speaking and public speaking in order to make it up that career ladder. So that's again, I do have a lot of youth clients, and that's my strategy with them, is I help them understand that it's very important to understand both worlds, and they have a hard time with it, but because that's what they grew up with, right? I mean, I grew up in the 90s too, man, and that's what I had those opportunities to stand up in front of groups, because that was my way of coping, right, and challenging my anxiety. And nowadays, it's completely different. Social anxiety has gone through the roof. Why? Because everyone's behind a computer screen now, right? They're not going face to face and socializing as much as we did, right? So again, it's very much needed in our world today, not only with our youth, but also just all the way up to C-suite executives, man. It's needed.
Have you seen, Stuart, or witnessed with some of your clients actual case studies of success where working with you, especially like, let's say either in college or like for a certain interview in that way, or something that had to do in that particular arena in college, or especially in the workplace, that they have leveled up their career progression by leaning into this importance of public speaking and communication? Have you witnessed that?
Absolutely. Public speaking gives people the upper hand. I'm telling you, I'm so passionate about this. Public speaking gives people the upper hand in their career and their life. So an experience that I'd like to share to illustrate this is I had a client, we'll call her Elizabeth, okay? She had a stuttering problem, okay? She had graduated high school. She had wonderful grades. But what her mom realized is that in order for her to get into the college of her choice, she had to go through an in-person college interview. And she was struggling because she would stutter when she got nervous. And whether it's a college interview or a job interview, I tell all my clients this: your resume. So in her case, it was her report card, right? It could be your report card, or it could be your resume, gets you in the door, but it's your communication skills that get you the job or the college. So she had all of the technical things in line. She was incredibly intelligent. However, when it came to the interview, she was just mumbling, shy, looking down, not making eye contact with the interviewer. So I spent about 4 months with her, coaching her 3 times a month to help her overcome her stuttering problem. And I didn't use speech therapy. I plugged in a little bit of speech therapy tactics in there, but I helped her feel comfortable standing in front of groups. And I gave her very pointed feedback on what she could do. For example, I'll give you one example of an exercise she does daily now, is you take a pencil. So I'm going to take, I don't have a pencil near me, but you stick a pencil in your mouth and you say tongue twisters over and over and over again. And what that does is it loosens your jaw muscles and all of your olfactory muscles up here, so that when you remove that pencil, you're able to speak more clearly and articulate your words more clearly. So I did that with her every session. I started with the pencil in the mouth. She spent 10 minutes just reading over. And then what happened was amazing. The stuttering started going down. Then I had her read passages from a book out loud to me over and over again. Stuttering started to go down. So I slowly and methodically got her into a college interview scenario. So the last 2 months of our time together was college interview after college interview, man. It was role playing. And she got into college, man. She got into the college that she was dreaming of because of her communication skills aligned with her report card or resume, right? And so that's a great story I share, right, with everybody, because that's only one of them out of the many that where someone comes in, they have a problem and they're able to overcome that challenge, be resilient and diligent, and just knock it out of the park, man. Gain that upper hand, right? So.
Stuart, that's a really interesting example. And, it's, I can imagine that when someone feels like they've improved in that capacity, they feel a lot more confident as well. And how much do you believe that role of just confidence feeds into improving in this particular theme that we're talking about? And is it sometimes, if anything, obfuscates that? Is it because of a deeper, like, historical issue with the particular person? Like, if you've grown up having anxiety and feeling bad in certain ways, especially socially, that could be because of stigmas of previous events. So
100%.
is there something that tangentially works into how you help them, but then I don't want to say necessarily be their therapist or anything, but help? The thing is, like, because a lot of things that we can't naturally develop in life is because we suffer from something in the past. So how does that work as far as like trying to deal with an issue, like someone may have been bullied when they're young and they maybe had a lisp or something like that, or whatever the issue is, and improve and get them ahead with what you try to help them with?
Sure. I think the root of confidence is, and this is honestly where I begin. So this is before I jump into all the technical skills like eye contact and hand gestures, Dev. I start by playing the therapist. In fact, a huge part of communication is therapy, and that's where communication is in business, organizational development, things of that nature. Psychology is a huge part of that, right? And that's my history. And so part of my sessions, my initial, I would say 3 to 4 sessions, are helping people understand that conviction plus individuality equals confidence. Say that one more time for our listeners. Conviction plus individuality equals confidence. If someone has a grasp on their individuality, right, their unique sense of authentic self, confidence is a natural, progressive thing. And so, my methodical way of helping bring out that individuality is by asking them, what are you most proud of in your life? Give me 5 things that you're the most proud of. And I give them a minute to think, because this is a deep question, dude. I mean, it's deep. They then bring out, I'm proud of my son, or I'm proud of the fact that I overcame my drug addiction, or I'm proud of the fact that I grew up in the ghetto and I'm working a full-time job, or something of that nature. And I say, that is the root of your confidence. And then I give them this challenge. I say, frame or post those 5 things that you're the most proud of on your computer screen, on the wall, so that every day you can get that confidence boost. Before you go into a public speaking scenario, before you go into your college interview, connect with your individuality, your 5 things you're the most proudest of, and gain that confidence boost. And I'm telling you, physiologically too, man, there's something that happens in our brain when we go through this exercise. Happiness hormones begin to fire, right? So not only these feelings help us, these hormones make us feel really happy and good, we are then primed to go into that interview and primed to go into that presentation ready and confident in ourselves. So that's individuality. And there's conviction, which is learning from your mistakes. That's all that if I can sum conviction up, it's learning from your mistakes and the hardships in life. Don't beat yourself up, because we're all human, and don't live in that dark space. Use your conviction to build yourself up. And so when those 2 things happen, the natural consequences is confidence, man. That's really how it works. So
How do you personally, like, as Stuart, mitigate the anxieties that you have? Like, because you say you still suffer with that, or it's a recurring thing for you personally. Like, what are your general practices or way of mitigating that for you personally that can be helpful for others?
100%. I'm gonna give you 3 of the 5 branches of my individuality, or the things that I'm the most proudest of. Because when I think of these, Dev, that's when I feel more confident in myself. First one is my family. I'm the proudest of my 4 sons. I'm a proud dad that all of them are unique beings with each one of their own personalities, and I help bring them into this world. And I have that blessing to raise them. That boosts my confidence right there. The second one is my faith. All right, I believe in a God. I believe in prayer. I believe in scripture. That's a big part of my individuality. And so being able to do that responsibility transfer onto a higher power mitigates my anxiety. And it's a strategy I teach my clients. I teach them responsibility transfer, whether it's on the universe, whether it's on Buddha, whether it's on Jesus Christ, or whatever they believe in. Taking that responsibility and placing it on that higher power shoulders is proven to decrease anxiety and increase charisma and confidence. And of course, the third thing that I'm the most proudest of is the Fedderson Formula. You see how the Fedderson Formula came later. They came even after those 2 things, is because those were the things that sprang and springboarded my confidence. So that's what I always hang on, and I have it framed right up there on my wall. I have it framed, these things, because that's what boosts me. That's me. That's what I can offer to this world. So.
Oh, it's incredible. And it's interesting because you do, like you say, put that in a particular order because, and I think that's important, like, even because a lot of these things that we try to put in action in our life have to have foundation. Like, you have to have precedent for anything you think you're going to do or do well. You have to have, you can't build a house and start with a roof, So, like, if you're building off a foundation of something, like, everything can precipitously become that much easier, So, but if you have no compass either, then you're totally lost. And, I'm really curious now, especially, like, let's just hypothetically say we're going into an interview, or we're going into a presentation with a company, totally different scenarios, but where's some, like, general insights or tips that you give your clients as to best practices in those scenarios, just out of curiosity?
A big part of the charisma formula is right before a presentation, introduce yourself and genuinely connect with at least 10 people. So what I mean by that's the very first tip I give. I mean, if you're in a virtual meeting, if you're even in an in-person meeting, get on early so you can work out all the sound and your presentation logistics. And then as people come in, you get to know them as human beings. You connect human to human. You introduce yourself. You say, hey, I love your shirt, or man, those shoes are awesome. Or I love your glasses. Just pay them compliments, sincere compliments. Why? It primes the audience, just like priming a pump. You're priming the audience. You're priming your own charisma. You're priming their trust in you. And then so when your presentation starts, what happens? You've already got a group out there that trusts you. They find you charismatic. They find you confident. And then you're able to go in there. So that's number one. It's the very first thing I tell my people to do. Then the second thing is this. Don't stand behind a podium if there is one. If you're on, so podium and the camera on a virtual call are one and the same. Why? Because the camera, if it's turned off, you can't see the audience's facial expressions. You can't see my facial expressions. You can't see the human piece, because 80% of our communication, Dev, is nonverbal. 80% of our communication is nonverbal. So if our camera is off, you're only using 20% of your communication potential. If you're standing behind a podium, guess what? You're only seeing just a chunk of our communication potential. So I say, don't hide behind the podium, and make sure your camera's on. And then also make sure that your audience's cameras are on if it's virtual. The third thing is eye contact catalyst. It's even before the words. Do you see what I'm saying? All of these are non-verbal. And I have to start with the non-verbals because we communicate more with our non-verbals. So it's eye contact. I call it eye connection, where as you're presenting, you spend 2 to 3 seconds making eye contact with people as you're speaking. And it's a very difficult thing to do, Dev, to teach yourself, but you've got to maintain eye contact with someone for 3 to 5 seconds, because that's psychologically proven to create trust, and you move around the room to do it. So all those, right, are nonverbal, but they're the key to trust in priming your audience, in them retaining you, in them perceiving you as a competent, credible individual and speaker. Those are my top 3 things, and I'm so happy to share it even with your listeners. In fact, if you're listening, go try it and then watch what happens. Watch what happens. The level or the cadence of trust in the entire meeting is going to skyrocket. It's one of the coolest things to see and observe.
Yeah, the nonverbal is really big and very important, and especially with the eyes,
Yep.
I think that's how I was able to captivate my wife and hook her in, and convince me.
Yeah, man.
At the very beginning.
Sparkle in your eye, man.
At the beginning, it was that. Now I get from, she's gonna kill me, but I get from her more of the evil stare. So that's
there you go.
That's a different sort of communication. So no,
yeah.
it's really important what you're saying, and yeah, because there is the energy really that comes from locking eyes like that, in whichever way that is like you said, builds trust. But I mean, I think it's most definitely the best way in which we can really get a sense of a person is that eye-to-eye contact. So I think it's an excellent point there.
And one of the things I want to kind of interject here too is when we, as human beings, when we're nervous, and by the way, everyone's human. So honestly, we all go into fight, flight, or freeze mode when we're in front of a group. I don't know why. It's a psychological response that you're being hunted. If we go back to our primitive selves, that you're being looked at. And so our bodies psychologically and physiologically tend to respond that way. So the reason why eye contact and your body language is so important is because what happens to a deer when they're in fight, or freeze, right? They get tense and they take up less space, right? And they avoid eye contact, right? So what my strategies teach is, in spite of you feeling this way, like tight, very nervous, you channel that energy into this open body language, not standing behind a podium, maintaining eye contact around the room. So that's the epitomis of my formula is confidence, right? Charisma, but then teaching people how to exude that in spite of your natural human reactions.
Yeah.
Right? That's the trick, and it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, for sure. Practice makes perfect, though, right?
Right.
Oh, but very interesting point, Stuart. And we only have time for a couple more questions, unfortunately, but we'll look for a part two in the future because I think some of these topics we can get to much more deeply and will really help a lot of people and connect with you as well, to improve on this for themselves. But one of the questions I have as we conclude, Stuart, is do you find the clients you work for firstly, is it more male or female? And secondly, who, just in a very general sense, do men or women from your experience who has an easier time of being able to improve or develop more quickly with these type of skills?
Sure. So my split right now with clients, I can give you the exact split. Okay. So right now I'm at 60, 40, 60% being male. Okay. 40% being female. So it's a pretty even split. The appetite to gain the upper hand through communication and public speaking, it's out there, especially since COVID, right? Challenged. And so I have a lot of folks reaching out to me to say, hey, how can I do this virtually? Or how can I do this in person? But from a growth standpoint, and this is based off of my objective data, because part of my career is a statistician. So that's one skill that I certainly bring into my public speaking curriculum is data collection. Okay. And in my experience, because again, I think it's just the way the cookie crumbled based on my data, the males tend to progress faster than the females. Okay. A big part of that is this, which is interesting piece. The males have more opportunity to practice, meaning real world examples that I'm teaching them, which is an unfair balance. So I'll get on my soapbox for a minute. Okay, because the women, unfortunately, with the way, and it's the trajectory towards women professionals is certainly increasing, which I'm so happy to see, because they hold just as much potential as the men, if not more, but they're not given sufficient opportunity to apply the real world examples. So the way I help mitigate that is I actually do what I call mock presentations with them, right? So I get a fake audience together of previous clients and so on and so forth, whether that's virtually or in person, and I give them that opportunity. So, because with that in order to grow, Dev, you've got to put yourself out there, man. You've got to get on the stage.
It's interesting, that insight, Stuart, and a lot of it too, like you said, and I think, yeah, as time goes on, that's also changed as well, is opportunity, because why go and do something if you don't have the opportunity, right?
Exactly.
So
Yep.
present in front of you, and everyone is always find their way to get ahead and do things better, and hopefully little by little society does open those doors more, and people can, if they have the conviction and the willingness, as you talk about, go into that door. So
that's right.
And as I conclude right now, Stuart, what is really, like, how do you see yourself in the next 10 years as far as with what you're doing now and where you want to take your business and the way in which you help people? Like, what is driving you, like, deeply in your heart each and every day with the work you do and the outcome you desire?
Yeah. First of all, I get a huge lift in my own confidence and individuality when I see someone like Elizabeth, like we talked about earlier on, go from not confident to confident in her public speaking skills. And so where I see myself in 10 years is that I obviously am helping more clients, that my firm has other speakers besides myself, other coaches. That is my dream. I want to bring on a whole team of people who have my passion. Right now, I'm the lone wolf. I'm going out there and I'm doing my thing, but I want to grow so much that other people who are as passionate as I am in helping others gain the upper hand through public speaking, and I can recruit and we can grow and we can spread the love, man, of the Fedderson formula. That's my dream.
Well, I'm sure you're going to get there, and I'm sure it's going to be a big successful firm, and I'm sure you're going to help so many people in this arena, and more than anything, just have a deeper respect and confidence for themselves, because even no matter how they are on their journey with this and how they learn, you do grow a certain type of confidence. So I'm sure
That's
you'll
right.
at least be helping that way. Stuart, where can people find you, follow you, connect with you, work with you, all of it?
Yeah. So I think the main thing is I've got a TikTok account where I post 1 minute videos, 1 minute tips every single day. So I post 3 videos a day. So be sure to follow me at Fedderson Speaks. Okay, that's my TikTok tag. And then you can also find me on Instagram which is also at Fedderson. And then I also have of course, my website, it's feddersonpublicspeaking.com, where you can book me, right? If you want to set up a free consultation with me, every first session is free. So you can just fill out the form that's on my site, and I'd be so happy to help you.
So I encourage all of our audience listening, watching, especially if this is important for you to want to develop in your life or someone you know, please check out Stuart. Follow him, of course. He posts excellent content, excellent videos, and work with him, one-on-one. I mean, really more than anything, and in particular for a job or college or anything like that,
Right.
more than anything, the overarching thing, you're going to, I think, really enjoy it. You're going to have fun. You're going to build confidence. So, Stuart, I thank you so much for being on this episode, KEAL. We'll find and go dive deeper into a few other topics in a future episode if you'd be so inclined. And we thank you so much again.
Oh, of course, I'd be so happy to come back. I love my time here, so thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Stuart. It was a pleasure. And we thank you all very much. Make sure you click here, the link below, and we'll see you all in the next episode, and take care, everyone.